By me they should be set free. When he proceeds in dharmas which are not. If he aspires to the concentration of emptiness, the signless, and the wishless, which are the doors to freedom, the bodhisattva should at that time be known as endowed with skill in means. But he does not midway realize the reality limit, until he reaches the knowledge of all modes. 5. The skill which is unattached. Moreover, subhuti, when the bodhisattva, the great being, becomes one who wants to contemplate these very deep stations. The emptiness of the subject, 2. The emptiness of the non-existence of own being, the 4 applications of mindfulness, 2. The Holy Eightfold Path, the 3 doors to deliverance, his thought should aspire thus. For a long time those beings, through the perception of a self, of a being, 2. Of one who feels, course, a basis. So that they may forsake the view of a basis, I will, after I have fully known the utmost, right, and perfect enlightenment, demonstrate dharmas. At that time the bodhisattva, the great being, enters into the emptiness concentration, a door to freedom, but he does not realize the reality limit, by the realization of which he would attain the fruit of a streamwinner, 2. Pratyekabuddha-enlightenment. At the time when the bodhisattva, the great being, develops the signless concentration, a door to freedom. At that time he enters the signless concentration, a door to freedom, but does not realize the reality limit, by the realization of which he would win the fruit of a streamwinner, 2. Arhatship, or pratyekabuddha-enlightenment. Thus, subhuti, the bodhisattva, the great being, endowed with this production of thought, and with these wholesome roots, does not midway realize the reality limit, nor does he become destitute of the 4 trances, 2. The Buddha dharmas. Thus, subhuti, does the bodhisattva, the great being, at that time become endowed with all the dharmas which constitute the wings to enlightenment. But he does not fail until he fully knows the utmost, right, and perfect enlightenment. The bodhisattva, the great being, who has been taken hold of by skill in means, grows in pure dharmas and his faculties become keener, unlike those of disciples and pratyeka Buddhas. The skill which is without basis. Moreover, it occurs to the bodhisattva, the great being. For long those beings have coursed in the 4 perverted views, in the notions of permanence, of ease, of loveliness, of self. For their sake I will, when I have known full enlightenment, demonstrate Dharma to the effect that they may form the habitual idea that this is permanent, ill, unlovely, and not self. Endowed with this production of thought and with skill in means, he courses in the perfection of wisdom. He does not enter on the concentration of a Buddha before having completed the 10 powers of a Tathagata, 2. The 18 Buddha Dharmas, the great friendliness, and the great compassion. At that time the bodhisattva develops the doors to deliverance which consist in the concentration on emptiness, the signless and the wishless, and enters upon them, but he does not realize the reality limit until he fully knows the supreme enlightenment. Moreover, the bodhisattva thinks to himself, for a long time these beings have coursed in a basis. A self, a being, a living soul, 2. One who does, one who feels, one who knows, on who sees. In form, feeling, for them I will act in such a way that when I have fully known the supreme enlightenment, the beings will not have the faults connected with assuming a basis. Endowed with these productions of thought and with this skill in means, he courses in perfect wisdom and does not realize the reality limit, without first having completed the 10 powers of a Tathagata, 2. The great compassion. At that time the door to deliverance which consists in concentration on emptiness reaches for that bodhisattva the fullness of its development. 7. The skill which is signless. Moreover, the bodhisattva who courses in perfect wisdom, thinks to himself, for a long time these beings have coursed in signs, in the signs of woman and man, in the signs of form and the formless. For those beings I will act in such a way that when I have fully known the supreme enlightenment, they will no more have these faults. Endowed with this production of thought and with this skill in means, he courses in perfect wisdom and does not realize the reality limit before he has completed the 10 powers of a Tathagata. 2. The great compassion. When he is endowed with that production of thought, then, at that time the door to deliverance which consists in concentration on the signless reaches for the bodhisattva the fullness of its development. 8. The skill which is without wishes for the future. Moreover, the bodhisattva, the great being who courses in perfect wisdom, thinks to himself. For a long time these beings, under the influence of hopes for the future, have been eager to become sakras, brahmas, world guardians or world rulers. They have been eager for forms. For their sake I will, when I have fully known the full enlightenment, demonstrate dharmas to beings to the effect that they see the faults of having hopes for the future. When the bodhisattva, the great being, through these wholesome roots and through this skill in means courses in the perfection of wisdom, then the door to freedom which consists in the concentration on the wishless arrives at the fullness of its development. But he does not realize the reality limit without having fulfilled the 10 powers. 2. The great compassion and until he has fully known the supreme enlightenment. It is impossible, it cannot be that a bodhisattva, a great being who courses in the 6 perfections, in the various kinds of emptiness, in the 4 applications of mindfulness, 2. In the Buddha dharmas, and who has made a complete conquest and is thus endowed with vision and cognition, should fall into the unaffected, or become intimate with what belongs to the triple world. That cannot possibly be. 9. The skill which is the token of irreversibility. Moreover, the bodhisattva, the great being, who courses in the dharmas which act as wings to enlightenment, and makes a complete conquest, may be asked. How can a bodhisattva, who wants to fully know the supreme enlightenment, after he has coursed in the dharmas, which act as wings to enlightenment and made a complete conquest, manage not to realize emptiness, or to penetrate the reality limit, with the result that he might reach the fruit of a streamwinner? 2. Pratyekabuddha-enlightenment. How can he realize emptiness, the signless, the wishless, the unaffected, non-production and non-existence, and how can he develop the perfection of wisdom? If the bodhisattva, when thus questioned by bodhisattvas, would explain that just emptiness should be attended to, just the signless, the wishless, the unaffected, non-production and non-existence should be attended to, and yet all beings should not be abandoned, the one should know that that bodhisattva has been predicted by the Buddhas, the Lords to the supreme enlightenment. And why? Because he indicates the complete conquest of an irreversible bodhisattva, great being, declares and exalts it. If a bodhisattva, when questioned, explains that not should a complete conquest be made of emptiness, of the signless, the wishless, the unaffected, of non-production, of non-existence, but one should make a complete conquest of the dharmas which act as wings to enlightenment, and one should not hang on to all beings, then one should know that this bodhisattva has not been predicted to the supreme enlightenment. And why? Because he does not indicate the complete conquest of an irreversible bodhisattva, does not declare or exalt it. And in consequence the bodhisattvas, the great beings, should know that the bodhisattva, having made a complete conquest, has transcended the stage of an irreversible bodhisattva. 10. The skill which is limited in its objective range. Subhuti. Is there in some manner in which a bodhisattva is irreversible? The Lord. He is irreversible if, having heard the 6 perfections, he answers as an irreversible bodhisattva would. He then should by the bodhisattvas be known as irreversible. Subhuti. There are, O Lord, many bodhisattvas who course towards enlightenment, but few only who answer as an irreversible bodhisattva would, either on the preparatory or the non-preparatory stage. The Lord. So it is, Subhuti, so it is. And why? Because few only are the bodhisattvas who have been predicted to the irreversible stage in which this cognition becomes possible. But those who have been predicted to it, they will give the correct answer. One should know that they have planted splendid wholesome roots, and that the whole world, with its gods, men and asuras, cannot overwhelm them. End chapter.